Can Hunter Luepke be the game-changing fullback the Cowboys need? Suffice it to say that the Dallas Cowboys haven't had a game-changing fullback since Daryl Johnston. Hunter Luepke is hoping to change that. Whether or not he actually gets a chance to do so remains to be seen. Since Johnston's retirement in 1999, Dallas has had 7 different players try to fill the role of fullback. None of them really succeeded. Luepke, an undrafted free agent out of North Dakota State in 2023, is that 7th man. He'd be happy to have a potential 8th candidate have to wait for a few more seasons for their turn. At this point, I'll insert a disclaimer. I'm a huge North Dakota State fan. Have been for almost as long as I've been a Cowboys fan for that matter. When I heard Mike McCarthy say that he wanted Luepke to fill the John Kuhn role in the Cowboys offense, I was ecstatic. Like McCarthy, I saw a lot of Kuhn when I watched Luepke play up in Fargo. The second coming of Johnston seemed certain. The 2023 season didn't quite play out that way, but it's still way too early to bail on Luepke just yet. In the shadow of Moose, Johnston came out of the gate strong in his rookie season. He maintained that level for most of his career thanks to the team that Jimmy Johnson built in the early 1990s. In his 1989 rookie year, Johnston, nicknamed the Moose, had 67 carries for 212 yards. He added 16 catches for 133 yards and 3 touchdowns. Over his 11-year career, Johnston had 232 carries for 753 yards and 8 touchdowns. He caught 294 passes for 2,227 yards and 14 touchdowns. And then there was the pass protection for Troy Aikman. Not to mention the run blocking that powered Emmitt Smith to the NFL record for rushing yards. And 3 of those Lombardi trophies sitting on display at the Star might not be there without Johnston's play. So to try and compare Luepke to the Moose is a little unfair. The comparisons between the early campaigns of Luepke and Kuhn are much closer. Also a little more fair since they have the same head coach, McCarthy. Kuhn's rookie year in 2006 was played as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played in 9 games, had 2 carries for 18 yards, and caught 1 pass for 15 yards. He went to the Packers in 2007 and his next 3 seasons were a little better, but not by much. The 2010 season, however, was his breakout year. Kuhn would play 16 games that season. He finished with 281 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns on 84 carries. He also added 97 yards and 2 more scores on 15 receptions. Kuhn was a vital piece of the Packers' attack from that season on. In 11 NFL seasons, Kuhn would finish with 658 yards and 19 touchdowns on the ground. He had 98 catches for 642 yards and 9 touchdowns in the passing attack. His value in run blocking and pass protection, much like Johnston's, was not to be overlooked. A storied history of fullbacks in Dallas. The Cowboys have enjoyed a wealth of players at fullback over the franchise's history. Some have played both fullback and halfback. By yardage, the greatest fullback in team history is Don Perkins. Cursed to play for Dallas during the Cowboys' growing pains of the 1960s, Perkins still managed to put up solid numbers. He hasn't played since the end of the 1968 season, but 55 seasons later, he remains 4th in franchise history in rushing yards at 6,217. Other fullbacks of note are Robert Newhouse, versatile enough to play both half and fullback positions, Walt Garrison, Ron Springs, and even Preston Pearson. Hunter Luepke's quiet rookie campaign. Luepke's rookie numbers are slightly better than Kuhn's, but they are still far behind Johnston's. In 2023, Luepke finished with just 19 yards and 6 carries with 1 touchdown run against the Patriots. He added 3 receptions for 18 yards. Mostly he was used for blocking, and he spent a lot of time on special teams too. He showed some early flashes in the season with a 9-yard run and a 12-yard reception in the loss to the Cardinals. He had 2 carries for 4 yards the following week against New England. His 3-yard run for a score late in the blowout victory is probably his best highlight. Running back/fullback Hunter Luepke hauls in a pass from QB Will Grier and turns it into a touchdown. He mostly disappeared from the offense over the next 10 games, though. He caught a pass for -2 yards against the Rams, had 1 target the next week against the Eagles, and a 3-yard run 6 weeks later against the Bills. Then came the Miami game. The Miami Miscue. On the Cowboys' opening drive, he had 2 runs for 3 yards and caught an 8-yard pass. On 1st and goal at the Dolphins' 1, disaster struck. Dak Prescott was officially credited with the fumble, but in reality, both he and Luepke should have shared credit. It is clear Prescott thought he was handing the ball off. It is also clear, judging by Luepke's arms tightly folded against his chest, that he was expecting a play-action pass. Can Hunter Luepke be the game-changing fullback the Cowboys need? The Cowboys hadn't handed the ball to Luepke on the goal line at all up to that point, and a play-action pass was the usual call by McCarthy in that situation. So, did Prescott make it clear it was a straight handoff? Did Luepke misunderstand the call and make a rookie mistake? Since no one has asked, or in my case, hasn't gotten an answer to my questions above from the folks at the Star, we may never know. The fact remains that it was a critical error and Dallas lost the game. While Hunter Luepke still hit the field in the final 2 regular season games, as well as the playoff loss to Green Bay, he never touched the ball again after that turnover. Luepke's road ahead. Scanning the wires this summer, one doesn't find much in the way of news on Hunter Luepke's future in Dallas. At best, you'll find speculation from writers like me. People who aren't in the coaches' rooms or the locker room and have no access to the thinking in Frisco. The task for Luepke, however, seems apparent: put that miscue behind him in camp and prove his value as a fullback, in blocking and ball carrying. The good news is that the running back room is very weak in Dallas. His value as a short yardage back can't be overstated, especially if the great Elliott rerun experiment comes up short. For now, Hunter Luepke needs to make it past the final cuts of the upcoming training camp and preseason games. If he does that, he might just be able to forge a path much like Kuhn did under McCarthy up in Green Bay, and maybe step out of the shadow of the Moose while he's at it. As the Cowboys prepare to enter training camp later this month, they'll do so with an underwhelming group of running backs. Dallas added veteran backs Ezekiel Elliott and Royce Freeman during the offseason, but neither served as a full-time starting running back last season. The rest of the Cowboys' depth chart is rounded out by inexperienced runners such as Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, and Rico Dowdle. Neither running back has ever started a game during their professional careers. In other words, there is no clear-cut favorite to start at running back for the Cowboys. Bleacher Report's Alex Ballentine makes a bold prediction that Dallas will make a move for a running back before the season, with Ballentine projecting that the Cowboys trade for an establisher runner such as the Houston Texans' Dameon Pierce. A trade might make more sense. Dameon Pierce would be a logical target, writes Ballentine. He had a successful rookie season with the Houston Texans, but ceded his role to Devin Singletary last season, and the Texans acquired Joe Mixon this offseason. Texans could consider Dameon Pierce trade after disappointing year. Pierce is a young 24-year-old running back and is just entering his 3rd season in the NFL. However, he emerged as one of the NFL's best rookie running backs in 2022 when he ran for 939 yards on 4.3 yards per carry as the Texans' starting running back. His rushing yards ranked 3rd among all rookie running backs. Bleacher Report's Derek Klassen described Pierce as a stout, explosive runner coming out of the draft. However, he fell out of favor during an absolutely rough 2023 season. Despite the Texans emerging as a playoff contender under the leadership of rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud, Pierce struggled on his way to 2.9 yards per carry, the lowest rushing average among all qualifying runners last season. Pierce posted just 416 rushing yards on 145 carries with 2 touchdowns during the 2023 season. Pierce started 7 games before eventually losing his starting job to Devin Singletary. While Singletary is no longer a member of the Texans, Houston did acquire former Cincinnati Bengals Pro Bowler Joe Mixon via trade. While Mixon is a bit on the older side, he'll be 28 years old this season, he still projects as the starter with Pierce as the backup. Why Cowboys should consider Dameon Pierce trade. While the Texans could very well retain Pierce considering Mixon's usage since 2017, he has served as a starting back for the past 7 seasons, they could also capitalize on acquiring some draft capital by trading with a running back-needy team such as the Cowboys. Considering Mixon, who has been a consistent starter for a number of years, was acquired for just a 7th-round pick, it's hard to envision Pierce costing much more than that. Pierce is obviously 4 years younger, with significantly less mileage on his body. That could lift the asking price to possibly a 6th-round draft pick. The Cowboys could very well go with a running back by committee game plan entering the season. But even that idea is underwhelming when considering Elliott averaged 3.5 yards per carry last season and when factoring in that Freeman has started just 1 game since the 2019 season. If the Cowboys can acquire Pierce for a low draft pick, they absolutely make a deal for a young running back who would immediately emerge as their starter.